Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show. Now, this is the brand new season, brand new era, 2021. We know how we're flexing, and I have to tell you guys, I'm always excited. I'm always excited when I get to speak to amazing people, when I get to speak to amazing men and women who are from the community, who are killing it in their fields. And let me put it this way, tonight is no exception, except I'm not excited. I am proud. I am elated. I am humbled. And I don't think there's enough adjectives to actually define what it is I'm feeling right now for two things. I'm interviewing someone who's a friend, but also I'm interviewing a person who, when I started this journey into I want to record, I want to ask questions, I want to get my voice on digital so I can actually get comfortable in my personal journey when I was struggling with speaking in public. This was the woman who was there for me. She was one of the first two people I ever interviewed way back when. And I'm talking 2009. Yes, there have been children who now have children in that time, but what can I tell you? I get the pleasure of interviewing Noreen Makosewe. Noreen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lillian. It's so good to be here. I can't believe it's been just over a decade, but it's such a pleasure and an honor to come back and to have a chat, have a conversation with my friend.
Thank you. This is going to be a bittersweet show because we were talking before we started about how far you have leaped, and your business started as Radical Leap. And I remember way back when you had this logo of a fish leaping out, and I looked at your new logo and I looked at how it's developed and grown. So let's go into it very quickly. You wear many hats. You're a strategic advisor, CEO, tech investor, serial founder, and philanthropist. So let's ask the simple question. What is the burning drive that got you to here?
Making a difference. That is what got me here. Making a difference in the lives of people. When I first started out, just like yourself, when you're testing the waters, I didn't know what that looked like. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to make a difference across the world. But I was young, I was shy, trying to figure it out, and I figured it out slowly, and I think I'm still figuring it out. So I allow myself to wear the different hats, but the bottom line is to make a difference.
Awesome. And I actually know that is not something you just believe. It's something that is part of your DNA. It's part of who you are. So let's point to something. You have an incredible picture in the background. I'm not talking of the artwork. I'm talking of the incredible picture of your sister, Grace. And that's how we met. And she was an incredible woman. And that's your older sister. So business and entrepreneurship has been in your DNA, has been in your family. How has it been going from losing such a person that held you, supported your growth? How did you pick back up and decide to continue to impact other people?
So yes, Grace. So I brought my tissue just in case. So if I need to, please bear with me.
That's fine.
Grace was my older sister, passed away in 2016. She was born just before me. We're literally born a year apart. And she was the creative in the family. I remember when we were growing up, she used to do crazy things in the house. And my dad would buy her whatever she needed to cut up, whether it was fabric or thread, whatever it was that she needed. He'd buy it for her, and she'd make her own clothes and make her own ornaments and make And I just used to observe because that had really intrigued me. It wasn't in my personalities and I didn't want to be like her, but I just really admired that this person could be so creative. And when we moved to the UK, she went a year or so ahead of me, and I joined in 96. My journey was slightly different because I was very introverted as a child. I was very shy. She was more extroverted. So she was in my youth, she was the door opener. She's the one who'd open the doors and I'd come in and mingle in her crowd and in her world, in her environment, which was very colorful, as you remember. We used to attend a lot of festivals. Very colorful. Her hair was blonde. She had dreadlocks and she'd wear every color.
Down to her waist. The first time I met her, I was like, oh, okay.
And the way she lived her life, she was like, Noreen, wear as many colors as you want. It's your life. And she had no rule, whereas the rest of us would be like, okay, just mix a few colors and that is enough. For her, she'd wear literally all her clothing would be the color of this painting.
Yep.
And I loved that about her. I really loved that she wasn't afraid to break barriers. And she wasn't afraid she didn't want to fit in. And I really liked that about her. I was more introverted, but mine was more, I was a creative problem solver. So I was strategic in thinking. And that is where we gelled, where she was creative. I'd bring solutions with strategy. And our entrepreneurship comes from my mom's side. So my mom was very entrepreneurial. My parents split up when I was quite young. And so I think out of that, we were taught really young how to manage money. When my mom had to travel, make sure you budget, write the price of milk down, write the price of bread down, make sure I have my change when I get back. And so when Grace passed away, there was a lot of lessons I got from who how she had lived her life, who she had been. And the one thing that I remember a lot was I used to tell her a lot about the Radical Leap. I was like, I want to set up a company. And I used to talk to her all the time about it. Every evening she'd come to my house. I said, I want to set up so one day she was like, why don't you just set up the company already? You're giving me a headache with setup. I said, I'm going to. And I just kept talking about it, what it was going to be like, and one day after work, because she worked in the City of London, she came to my house, she didn't tell me she was coming. And she came with a box of cards. And she had printed me business cards with everything that I was doing at the time. And she'd called it the Radical Leap Company. And she gave it to me and she says, go and run your company. And that was how the Radical Leap was born.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's Grace.
That was
yeah.
So she really pushed me and picking up, like you asked, after she passed away, I just keep remembering the lessons, the opportunities, the doors that she opened for me when I was younger, things that she taught me, and just following in her footsteps in some things, but also living my own life, my own way, on my own terms. So
that's beautiful. And yeah, she had an impact on me as well. I still remember, and there's one thing I'm yet to complete, and I still have her in my ear going, babes, where is it now? Where is it? You said it's going to be that. Where is it? I still have her in my ear. So yeah, she was, I remember I described her as this, she's like a black hole, not in the sucking everything away. No, she had this gravitational pull. Once you were in her presence, you couldn't leave. It was just impossible to leave. And she had this ability she looked at you and you felt important.
Yes.
I think that's the only way I can phrase that. She looked at you and you felt important.
Yeah.
And that was something really powerful. She had this very incredible way of gazing at people and speaking life to others. That was just a beautiful thing. And I think we will move on from here and we will touch on this a bit more. So you spoke about strategy as being one of your, should we say, your superpowers. And while doing our research, we looked at your trademarked Crystallize strategy. What is that?
Crystallize was, it was born out of frustration, let me say. I initially set up the Radical Leap Company as an executive coaching practice. But I quickly realized that coaching, as nice as it sounded back then, I didn't really enjoy asking questions a lot. It's good to ask questions and get what you need to do, what you need to do. But I didn't really thrive in the coaching environment. And all my clients would come and say, Noreen, I know that you're doing the coaching thing and you're following the rules and you're asking me these questions, but can you just tell me how to do what I need to do? So my clients were frustrated. I was frustrated. And I realized that I enjoyed showing them how to do what they needed to do. And as my clients thrived, then I realized that I think this is my zone of genius and this is what I'm going to pursue. So within the industry, my company is, or let me say was back then, it was a really small fish in the big pond of the big consulting firms, the Ernst & Youngs and KPMGs and this big consulting practices. And I wanted to be, even though it was a little company, I wanted to operate it like the corporations, as small as it. Because I'd worked within the financial services industry. I worked within an investment bank. I learned a lot and I loved how they did the corporate thing, even though I didn't quite enjoy the corporate environment. And so I took the best practices and I applied them to business. So whilst I was setting up my consultancy, I was also straddling a corporate job, doing the part-time entrepreneurship and part-time working. And I realized that strategy was what I really enjoyed, but I didn't have a toolbox that could not be purchased in the market, because people can go online and find lots of strategy and apply certain things to their own businesses. Yeah. So I wanted to create a system that can only be found within our company, that will make us specialists in that, within the industry. And after a bit of research and learning and studying and finding what the types of frustrations our clients were experiencing, I developed the CRYSTALLIZE framework. And over the years, we've tried and we've tested it in different countries, in different companies, within different sizes of businesses at different stages. And CRYSTALLIZE is our framework for helping businesses launch, grow, and expand. And so that is what it is. We're really proud of it. And you can't find it on Google, which I really like.
Yes. And what I love is the fact that it has a little TM on the side, trademarked. So in fact, let's actually jump off on that, because you've trademarked CRYSTALLIZE. How important is it for us as businesses of color to start looking at securing our intellectual property, to start saying we want to get things copyrighted, we want to get things trademarked? How important is that, especially in the time that we are in the world of Google?
Yeah, it's crucial. I think anybody who has intellectual property that they know is their genius, it's literally something of generational significance. If you have not trademarked it, you're dead in the water. Because somebody can literally take it and then you're fighting for the rest of your life for your inheritance, for the inheritance of your children. I think it's important. I think it's important that as people of color, one, we are educated, but then a lot of us don't follow through on that education. And it's not an insult. It's we know that we have the information, but information and knowledge is not. When we take that information, you go into the world, you're going to compete against bigger fish, let me say. If you do not have the legal frameworks to protect your intellectual property, your business, your partnerships, whatever it is that you're doing, it's a minefield. And you're struggling against not just those in your locality. You're also you would be struggling against those in other jurisdictions, other countries, other regions. And if you don't have those legal things to protect you, forget about protection, let me say. You can't be protected. A lawyer cannot come and support you, help you, because you left your gates open, left your doors open, and somebody came and took what belonged to you. So I think it's really important that we actualize the protection of our property, the protection of our knowledge, the protection of frameworks. And those things come when we're inspired. Like, I don't know about you, but I wake up a lot between 2 and 4 a.m. And I think there's a lot of us that do that because we get sparks of inspiration and we write those things down. But beyond writing those things down, a lot of people don't act on it. And if you don't act on it, it's going to go to somebody else who's probably woken up at the same time, and we lose all of these opportunities. So I think it's really important. Yeah.
I think I in fact, the word is not I think. You have put a real nail on this, because you spoke about the fact that we are educated, especially from the Black and Brown community. If you want to go and find people with the most degrees, it is in our communities. Yet we work at I don't want to say this and I don't want to sound insulting, but we work at an ignorance level, because we think that those things to trademark, to do those things belong somewhere else. And I think the more we start seeing people that look like you, who are trademarking, who are saying, yes, do it because it is your right, the more things will change. And not in the next 10 years, in the next immediate future, as in the now.
Absolutely. And the other thing, just to touch on that, is sometimes, or let me not say sometimes, a lot of times, a lot of people of color do not pursue these things because they think it's costly, but it's more expensive not to. It's more expensive not to. I remember when I was taking stock of my own, because we go through personal development, you want to be better, you take stock of your life on a regular basis. And I don't remember what year it was. I sat down. I've always made a promise to myself that my wardrobe will not be more than 2 doors. But you can have a wall to wall. I made a promise to myself to travel light in life, okay? So my wardrobe will not be more than 2 walls. Maybe my jacket wardrobe might be bigger. But I looked at my clothes, I looked at my shoes, I looked at my bags, and I asked myself, if I had converted all of these things, and I like nice things, like a lot of women do, if I converted all these things into money right now, how far would my business be if I had invested that in my business over myself? And a lot of us, a lot of people of color, we're wearing our wealth. We're wearing it every day. We're wearing it in our hair. We're wearing
Why
it on
are you coming with this level of violence?
I just put it out there. Why are we wearing our wealth instead of investing it? And I took stock, and I'm not saying this just to, I did that to myself first. I said, Noreen, stop wearing your wealth. Invest it. Travel. Instead of buying a bag, buy a flight. Instead of buying something that you don't need, buy land, buy something that is going to be. So because if we invest now, 10 years from now, we don't need to work so hard. And a lot of our I'm not, this is not to slight anyone, but there's a lot of people of color who are working well into their 60s and 70s when they don't need to. And I didn't want that to be my story. I don't want that to be the story of my children. Therefore, it's important that we do that. We trademark, we protect, we take ownership, we own, and we pass that ownership down to our nieces, our nephews, our next generations.
This is girl, you came with the violence first and foremost. People are gonna be like, who? Because we know how much those wigs cost in some cases, and we know people who buy wigs every month, and you're like, when you put it in the way that you've put it, it's like,
we don't have excuses.
Yeah.
We do not have excuses. We honestly do not have excuses. If my wig costs 1,200, whatever it is they cost, and I don't have enough money to invest in stocks, I just really need to check myself. I cannot blame the other races. I cannot blame the institutions or the systems. I can't do that. I have to take ownership. If I've done everything I can and it's still not working, then yes, maybe we can point the fingers, but we need to systemize our knowledge. We need to take that money and put it where it'll grow, for ourselves and for the next gen.
Wow, this is going to change this conversation we're going to have tonight, because we're going to talk about the work that you do, but also I think you've touched on something very important, which is investing. It's growing our money. It's taking stock on who we're being. So we're going to come back and touch on those things. So speaking of the work that you do, you work mainly with startups and get them to a point where they're able to launch, grow, and expand. So let's look at what it is. We know that the startups now almost a dime a dozen. Why do most startups fail?
Oh my gosh, there's so many reasons. There's so many reasons. One of the top reasons, which was really interesting when I did the research, is there's people who have brilliant ideas. You wake up and you think the world needs this. I think the world is going to be amazing. I'm an entrepreneur, and they launch out, but the market doesn't actually need or want what it is that you're putting out there.
Right.
So there's a failure in market research. They don't gather the data. They don't study market trends. For example, the global pandemic has shifted so many things. And there's a lot of businesses that launched either close to the pandemic or just, we didn't know what was going to happen, but they hadn't done a lot of market research. So when the global pandemic hit, not just the pandemic, but there was all of the other mistakes that they made that caused their businesses to flop. There's those who don't know how to budget, don't keep records. When I first started my business, keeping records was a major issue. I didn't know what records I needed to keep and who needed to see those records when it was needed. There's mistakes with money, mistakes with finances. There's entrepreneurs, especially those who are not really aware, will take the money that they've earned and use it for themselves, and not realizing that there's a big chunk of the money you're earning that is not yours from the beginning. Forget it, touch it, don't look at it, doesn't belong to you. And they'll take it and they'll use it, and a tax man will come for them. So there's a lot of mistakes that small businesses make. Others, one of the big ones is launching a business without being an expert in that particular industry. You bring together people, you have a great idea, but you have no clue how that industry works. You don't know the requirements of that industry, and you rely on everybody else to run your business without without their intelligence to run it. So there's a lot of reasons why many businesses fail as startups. But even with a global pandemic now, the reasons just, skyrocketed.
Yes. And I think, so we're in this pandemic. We've seen some people who've launched businesses in the pandemic and they're thriving. We've seen some people who have gotten lost. So what is the first advice you would give someone that says, okay, I want to start up, I want to start something. What do I need to do before I hit my launch button and go? What is the one thing that you have to do?
Market research. There's launch processes, strategies that they need to put in place, but market research. I can't emphasize it enough. And every time I suppose it's market research, because we have great ideas, but if the market is not asking for what it is that you think is a great idea, it's pointless. You might think the market needs it. They might actually want it, but they don't want it in the version you're creating it in. They don't want it in the locality. They want it in a completely different way. They don't want it at the price that you want to deliver it at. They don't want it with the frequency that you want to. So the research is talk to the market, understand the buyer, understand the process of getting you, whether it's a service or a product, understand the market before you do anything. If the market says yes, it's a go. If the market says no, don't go. And sometimes one of the ways to test the market is to create a minimum viable product, whatever it is that you're creating, put it in the market. It'll probably get shut down or it'll get accepted. And then you make changes and tweak until the market says, yeah, now we like it. But on top of that, you need a big mass of people wanting the same thing. Because you might say, oh, my mom likes it, my auntie likes it, my neighbor likes it, my friends like it. That's 20 but 20 people won't pay you every single month.
Yeah.
You need a big mass of people wanting to buy what you're selling on a regular basis at the price that you set it. But you have to talk to the market to find that out.
Okay. So market research is key. And I know that there's another point that you always talk about, and it's the part of building strategic alliances. So let me ask this. What are the core steps that we need to start doing, especially as women in business, to stop I'm attending networking meetings to actually building strategic alliances?
Strategic alliances is actually, it's strategic alliances and partnerships has been our key growth strategy, because when I set up my business, the business is UK based, but I wanted it to operate internationally.
Right.
And the quickest way for me to do that was to tap into other networks and people who had established themselves in their own countries or in their own localities. You can't network your way fast enough to success. You can't. And when I say network, I'm saying you go by yourself and then you do the work yourself, you keep doing it yourself.
Yeah.
But if I tap into somebody else's one person and they have their whole network, through this person, I can gain access. And through me, they can also gain access to what I do and my expertise. So networking is great, but networking with a purpose is more important.
Yes.
I attended so many networking events when I first set up my business. I found it really exhausting. One, because I'm introverted. And after an hour, I'm like, I need to go home. I need to get out of here. And so I realized very quickly that networking at that way was not going to be the way for me to grow myself and grow my business. And so whenever I go to networking events, or whenever I went to networking events when the world was still open, I would go with a very clear purpose. I want to know who's coming to the networking event. So if ideally find a networking event that has a list of all the attendees, find out who they are, what they do, and what value they're bringing. And I take myself and I find very strategic people that I need to talk to. So if it's somebody in a different country, I will talk to them and say, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I'd really like. Can we have a conversation outside this networking event, telephone or personal meeting or Zoom meeting, and strike a conversation that means that they benefit from the relationship and I benefit as well. And so I've done that consistently over the years, and it's the way that I've been able to access even continents that I've not been to.
Right. And that's powerful. I like that you do the homework, you attend with a purpose. And I think some of us, we forget that it's not just let me turn up, and it's not about collecting the cards, it's are you in the right room? And while you were speaking, I thought about some of the networking events that I have been to in my time. And I remember I paid to attend this networking event, and I was in a room full of people that I had no business being in. Not because I didn't belong in the room, but because none of them knew what I was on about. None of them were in the same field. None of them could actually understand me. So it's like being in a room and everybody speaking Swahili and I'm speaking French.
Yeah.
You're mismatched.
Doesn't make sense.
I did not do the homework. And so there's something about knowing what rooms to go into, because we keep talking about we want to have a seat at the table. We now have to take a strategic approach and go, is it worth me being at that table? If all I'm going to get thrown is crumbs, is it worth me being at this table? Or do I invest my time elsewhere? So the point of doing the homework before, that could have saved me some money and time.
I know, me too. Because we're told network, meet people, and you go and you're just meeting people for the sake of meeting people. And after a while, I was like, no, this is exhausting. This is expensive. And I hate being here. And so when I realized that,
that's the best part. You hate it.
I hated it. And ever since I did the whole strategic, if somebody invites me, I was like, who's going to be there? Who's in the room? What conversation is going to be had? What's the industry expertise that's going to be shared? And I don't always network within my industry. I network within complementary industries, because I think for me, my work is in strategy, which covers multiple industries, meaning that I don't necessarily want to have conversations with people in strategic consulting only. I want to have conversations with people in healthcare, in technology, in agriculture, in fashion. And I like that because I get bored easily. So all of these different industries is quite fascinating. So attending those events, but I attend them with the purpose of mutually beneficial relationships. And it saved me so much stress. And I go out less now.
Well, I mean, the world is closed, so we don't really go anywhere.
I will please them anyway, so.
Okay, so let's get back on this. We're looking at startups. And so one of the things I wanted to find out is, I don't know if you heard about the report that came out in the UK today about there's no systematic racism. So we'll pin that report for a second, and let's kind of jump into the conversation about what is getting in the way of Black and Brown startups from getting funding, the actual nitty-gritty of it, and how can we work around it?
Wow, man, that's a loaded one. That one is, I'll be honest and say it's fully loaded, the question. I think the context matters, right? It's no secret that Black and Brown people always get the short end of the stick in very many industries. I mean, yes. I've been on the receiving end, so I'm not going to deny that it's really difficult or has been very difficult as a small business, working with small to medium enterprises in ecosystems that are predominantly non-Black and non-Brown. Mm-hmm. And some of the experiences that really inspired me to go international was, I remember a networking event in the UK I attended. It was one of those exclusive networking events. I was invite only. They said it's going to be amazing. We're going to have some investors in the room. And my business was newly started. There was going to be some speed networking. And we were going to meet people who would tell us how to grow our businesses really, really quickly, really strategically. And so we did this, attended this event, very swanky place. They did the speed networking thing where you sit down, speak to somebody, get up and go and sit down at the next. So it was like mentoring, speed mentoring, let me say. And I touched every table, and the last table I got to had this lady, or a Karen, let me call it. That is the only word for me to use it. That's the only word for me to use. And I remember sitting down. It had been a really exciting speed mentoring session. I was really pleased about everything that I'd heard. Mm-hmm. So when I sat at a table, you're given this 1 minute to tell them, do your elevator pitch and then get the feedback. And this woman leaned in and she says, you shouldn't be here. You should find your own community and go there. Everything I had heard before I sat at the table evaporated. My blood ran cold. I was so upset. I got myself, I don't remember what happened after that. I just realized I need to get out of this place. But sitting face to face with this lady made me realize something, that when we go into the business world, especially as people who are not Caucasian, we're not English, the chips are stacked against us in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's very subtle, it's very hidden, because she didn't say it to the hearing of everyone. She leaned in and said it to me. She said, you don't belong here. Get out and find your own community. And I was, I was so shocked. I didn't even know what to say. I had no response. I had no comeback. I had nothing. My mind just went blank. Wow. But I made a decision in that one moment. I said to myself that my dream is an international consultancy. I am going to make it international. I am going to work with businesses in the UK, in Europe, in America, in Asia, in Africa. Whatever this woman said to me is completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. I was going to find communities, not of people that see color, but people that see value. And as angry as I was, when I left that place, it just put a fire in my belly. And I just thought, people like this woman will never destroy people like me. And that is, it has not been, I won't say it is one thing that has driven me to get to this point, but it was a spark. It was like, people like you will never talk to people like me ever again in this way. And so there's a lot of racism that sometimes is very underhanded. It's very hidden. It's written in the paperwork so you don't see it. Yeah. It's written in the data so that, they're not telling you they don't want you, but in the data it says you don't actually fit in here. So exactly. You can't do what is being. So institutional racism exists. We cannot deny that it does exist. But one of the things that I know, as a woman of color, African woman, in Africa, I'm not minority, I'm majority, but in those ecosystems, they call me minority. I know that we have the capacity to build multi-million-dollar companies. We have not built those as a massive ecosystem because we have our own faults within our ecosystem of Black businesses. There's maybe lack of communication, misunderstanding, division along ethnic lines, division along lines of which country you come from or what accent you have. We have so many little divisions that stand in the way. So the institutional racism is going to work against us, whereas we're the majority within our ecosystem. So I think that where investing is concerned, within the African continent, what I see is the old models of investing in business are coming back. That whole pass the money around the table is coming back massively. And you have women in the community who sell vegetables. Those are the millionaires. Those are the women who literally build schools. And those women are coming together and saying, how can we put our money to work? What can we do? We don't need to invest millions. I can put $1,000. If I get another 100 women who can put $1,000, we have some money to invest in some things. And some women are earning thousands of dollars every month. So there's no reason why we can't invest within ourselves. We can still apply for these investment funds. We can apply for the competitions. But really and truly, how many of us can access that money as a collective? We can't do that, and we can't move fast enough. But if we come together within our own collectives and say 100 women, 200 women, 1,000 men, everybody put 1,000, what can we build? What can we buy? What can we invest in? In 10 years' time, I think we'll blow our own minds. And that is the strategy that is being employed in the continent at the moment, which I really, really like. And I think we will see more of that now, with Africans investing in Africa and diaspora coming back to invest within the continent. It's growing, and I hope that it just catches on and, catches like a wildfire. That's my desire.
I think that's one, a noble desire, but also the fact that it's now people can see the advantages of going, you don't want me? Fine.
Yeah.
See, this is the, this I will use to my advantage, and we will then grow together. And I think the more we start thinking about growing together, the more we start understanding the power of what it means to really, really own our worth. Own our worth. So there's power in that, and I cannot begin to tell you how much. Excuse me, I need a drink.
That's okay. Go ahead, sis.
I can't begin to tell you how it's sparking up a couple of things, and this is the kind of conversations that we need to be having more and more of, especially for us who are, like, if you want to talk about the cracks within the fault lines in terms of, the other conversations that we've had in the past. Oh, well, you're East African. Well, I'm West African. So, and?
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, people are like, and? Can I get to East Africa? Yeah. Do I need to get to No. Can we be on Zoom? And the more we start thinking as a people that those conversations were conversations that were left for us to have, because it distracts us from doing the work.
That's right.
It distracts us from doing the work. So we've looked at what gets in the way of brown and Black startups from getting funded. And I know that you've spoken about systems, you've spoken about automation in business, you're an advocate for it. But if you are a solopreneur and the idea of systems and automation makes you want to just, how can you minimize the fear around tech? How can you go, okay, I mean, some people are just getting to grips with Zoom and everything else just looks painful. How can you make it easy?
Oh, you know what? The reason I'm chuckling is because that's the reaction a lot of a lot. In fact,
You mean this reaction?
Yes, there was like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? What can I do? A lot of, particularly women-owned businesses, they react that way to technology. And I think for me, it's demystifying technology. Listen, this is technology. Your phone is technology. Instagram is technology. We figured out how to use
Yeah,
Instagram.
but that I just post pictures, right?
Yeah, but that's marketing. So technology is not as complicated as we make it out to be. Yes, there are the very complicated sides of technology, which we don't always need to know. I don't need to know how a technology works behind the scenes. I just needed to do what I needed to do. And the simplest way for me to put it is to look at your business. For example, look at your small business and say, what are the skills that I need to run this business that I don't currently have? I need somebody to send emails. I need somebody to make phone calls. I need somebody to follow up on my clients. I need to market. So all the skill sets, and you look for technologies that can help you do that easily. That's the simplest way for me. We don't need you to go and build anything. We don't need you to code anything. Just buy the technology. And some of those technologies or systems, let me say, are as cheap as £4. £4, £5, £10, £15. And for small businesses, if they calculated everything that they need, the skill sets or the tools that they need to run the business efficiently, it won't be as expensive as they think it is. It could be as cheap as £50 a month, or even less, depending on what they need, or 300, 400, 500. Now, if you spend 500 and you make 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, it's worth the spend. Yes. Of course, you need to assess how that tool is going to help you become profitable, efficient, and increase your productivity. And so when it comes to using technology, I usually say, just look at what you need and then buy the tool that will help you do that. Now, if it gets complicated when you think, oh, I'm going to have to build it, I'm going to have to do all these complicated things. Yes. The other thing I think people are afraid of doing is learning. And you tell them, here's a tool that's going to help you manage your team. Oh gosh, it's going to take me so long to learn. The video is literally 2 minutes long. 2 minutes. The video is 2 minutes long. Then you test it out. Then you try it and you learn how to use it. It might take you a day, 2 days, a week to learn, but the week is worth the investment. And if you feel that you don't really want to do all of those things, hire somebody to learn how to do it and pay the person to use that tool for you. So I think it's, for me, technology and advocating more women in technology, for example, there's using technology, but then there's also women who want to work within their industry. And so that's a whole different conversation, advocating for access, advocating for opportunities, and just giving them the skill sets that they need to be able to function within those particular industries. So I love technology. When I first enrolled at university, I went to study information systems. I hated programming because I was programming in very complicated computer languages. I knew I hated it. And I deferred my course when my father passed away, and I decided to go down the coaching route and set up the practice as a coaching practice. Right. But 10 years later, I'm literally back in technology, loving it, swimming in it. And now I know what type of technology I like. I like the creative side of technology, and it's evolved a lot since then. So who knows what the next 10 years of tech is going to look like. I think we need to demystify it and just let people know that whether you like it or not, you need technology. So there's no running away from it.
There really isn't, because if we didn't embrace technology, we wouldn't be having this conversation here and, all the things that we've developed and continue to step into. So we can't hide from it. Now, I'm just thinking there are a couple of things that you touched on, especially that whole conversation about women gaining access to technology to work in it. That is a separate conversation that I need to get you back in for, that we're going to sit and talk about. And so that's a separate conversation. So that is coming. I would like to discuss something that I read. I was on your social media and I read it and I'm like, I've actually never heard that term, business trauma. What is business trauma?
Well, business trauma. I can't even begin to describe how many people have experienced business trauma and don't even know that they've been through it. Trauma, I mean, just getting away from the business, but trauma is anything that adversely affects you as an individual. It might not be traumatic for somebody else, but for you, it was traumatic. It was something that affected your psyche, it affected you emotionally, it affected you physically. It shifted you from who you were to somebody completely different, and you need to find your way back to becoming the person that you know you are so that you can be everything that you can be. I know that's very, coachy and cliche, but literally that's it. And trauma, a lot of people have been through really difficult situations that have affected how they interact in business, how they do business, how they interact with people, how they even work within their own businesses. So they're not functioning at their optimum level. They're not, they know there's more. And I talk to a lot of people who say, I know I can do so much more. I know I can give so much more. I know I can be better than this, but they're just stuck in this space. And for a lot of people, it might be because they went through something really difficult. And within the business arena, somebody could have duped you. Somebody could have assaulted you. Somebody could have insulted you, said something really mean to you. For example, if I had let what the woman said to me become a really negative thing in my life, that could have been traumatic. But look, I'm not about to let you ruin my destiny with your opinion about Black people. Not everybody has the capacity to fight back. Some people are really affected to the point where they shrink back and they never come out of that shell. And business trauma, when I shared it on social media, I thought about it for a long time because I work with different people. I have conversations with different people. And there's some times where, you're asking, why won't you just increase your prices? You're worth more than that. Why will you not go for that contract? You're capable of sitting at that table. Why will you not go for that? Or why will you not interact in this space? And people will tell you what they've been through. Somebody lied to them. They put in a bid and somebody took it. They invested all their money and their partner ran away with the money. They invested the money and somebody chopped the money. All of it is gone. The money never came back. So people go through a lot. There's people who've been in businesses where they were physically assaulted or sexually assaulted. There's a lot that happens in this. There's evil people within the world. So business trauma happens and then people don't deal with it. They just think, no, I don't want to cause any trouble. I'll just handle it. Don't worry, I'll handle it. And unfortunately, some people have compacted business trauma, meaning they go through different things that they just keep dealing with and dealing with and dealing with. And then to a point where they either just blow up, get sick, become, can literally end up with a heart attack. People are in hospital thinking that they're just sick, but it's a trauma that has gotten them there. And I really wanted to talk about that because in the business world, I'm really passionate about the humanity of the leader within the business, humanizing the leadership within the business. If you've gone through a difficult situation, we need to allow leaders to be leaders and to be in a space where they can express that they went through something really difficult. And I wanted to share that, to open it up so people can talk. And I'm really glad I did, because so many women reached out, even men reached out and said, you know what, Noreen, thank you for talking to us about it. I'm now getting a therapist. I'm talking to a counselor. I'm so glad I cried and I let it out and I didn't realize that I'd been through so much. And there's a lot of leaders going through that.
And I think it's funny how we make this concept of a leader, this thing that you put before the person. And so a leader is, and especially when we go on social media, the female boss, the boss chick, everything rolls off the shoulder. I think the fact that you talk about humanizing the person, the woman, the the man behind the leadership, man, woman behind said business is crucial. And you talk about being able to open up and say, this is what happened, when we have been taught as a people collectively, we have to keep to ourselves.
Yes.
We have to keep our stories to ourselves. We have to hold it tight. That to show any weakness is bad form. And the trope that goes around for Black women is, that strong Black woman, of course, nothing ever affects you.
Yeah.
And Black women are the biggest ones who are impacted by various diseases because why? Nobody knows. Trauma.
And for Black women especially, I find that because we're wearing different hats, I have a healthy respect for women who are mothers to children. They have husbands and they have businesses. That's a whole lot of work to be done.
Yes.
That's not to say that the single women are not, they're not experiencing their own fair share of the workload. But then women go through so much already. And when I say women, it's, women all over the world. However, Black women have a special workload that nobody else sees, because they're carrying the weight of the community on their shoulders. They're carrying the family, they're carrying the community, they're carrying dependence, and then they're carrying the business, and they're expected to meet all the societal expectations. So that the load on Black women, African women, is so heavy. And if we don't permit ourselves to deal with those traumas that we are going through, it could be something within the family, within the business, it compounds, it compacts, it becomes a tumor, it becomes a cancer, it becomes blood pressure, it becomes diabetes, and it's killing Black women. And we need to normalize talking about it, seeing a therapist, going for wellness checks, dropping the load and saying, I'm not taking your rubbish anymore, delegating it, hiring assistants, outsourcing it. We need to deal with our stuff. And we need to come to grips with the fact that the world is never going to cut us any slack as Black women.
And so we have to then give ourselves the grace that we're not going to get from them.
We're not going to get the grace from the world. So we need to build our own systems. We need to build companies that are accepting of us.
Yes.
I have an assistant. I love the lovely lady. She's a mother of 4, but I trust her to help me with my business.
Yeah.
When she needs time out to go take care of something, the child is sick, I'm okay. You go take care of the baby. When you're ready, come back. And if I give her that grace, she puts in extra. When she knows she comes back, the baby is fine, all the kids are fine. What do you need me to do? She'll go the extra mile. And that's a grace that we need to accord ourselves to deal with those traumas. Women, be nicer to women. Women, hire women. Women, employ more women. Women, build multinationals. Bring more women in. No, this is not against the men, by the way, who are going to listen to this. But then we need to build the spaces where we are in charge of how women experience the business world.
Yes.
And if it means I have to build a business that's going to employ women, that's what I'm going to do to change my generation and the next generation. And I think we need to do more of that.
Absolutely. Okay. So yes, business trauma, we need to say no to that. We need to start hiring more women, we need to create, like you say, the businesses, the wealth, so that we can actually help create the spaces that we can actually thrive in more.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So listen, we have so much I haven't even touched on, and I think it would be better served to have you come back on the show and for us to do the rest of it. But before I let you go, there's something I wanted to talk about, which actually sparked this conversation, us having this conversation, is you were talking about the power of words and talking about how they build or break, or how they can actually change the course of the world we live in. So how does words alone do that?
Words are spiritual. And we give that spirit power when we speak. I know it's going to sound woo-woo, and
Don't worry, you're in a safe space. It's fine. Bring the woo-woo.
When we look at the power of words, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. When I was growing up, my father was very affirming. He was very affirming of me. I was in hindsight, looking back, I was dyslexic, and he took the time out to speak to me and teach me, and sit with me every evening. He'd roll up his sleeves and come and do homework with me. Don't look at it like that. Look at it like this. Say it like this. And that was really powerful for me. And his presence in my life was very affirming for who I was. It shaped my being. But I also realized that I was very conscious of how people spoke to me and what they said to me. Mm-hmm. And the words that people spoke to me really sat on my spirit. Mm-hmm. And as I grew up, I became a teenager. I've traveled, went to the UK, began to build my own life. I realized that I was drawn to people who are very particular in how they use their words. I really dislike people who are flippant and said random things and said, oh, that's just my personality. That's just who I am. I really don't like that because it affects people. And then I began to realize that when I spoke affirming words to myself, my life thrived. And when I didn't, it didn't thrive. And it affected how I felt. It affected how I behaved. And I began to study it. I decided to study it for my own self. And as I studied it, I went on the spiritual journey of understanding historically how people who've gone before us, the success teachers, used words to power their lives. And I remember reading this book by a woman called, I think it's Florence Scovenfield, I think. I may have mispronounced the name. And she talked about the power of words. I read Napoleon Hill and the power of words and what you say. I read the Bible. I read different teachers on the power of words. And I began to put it into practice because I thought, let me test it out and see. And I began to speak these words into my life. And whatever I spoke happened. And then I got into a season of my life where it happened immediately. If I said something, it would happen immediately. If I said something negative, it would happen immediately. So I thought, be careful about what I'm saying, who I'm saying it to, and when I'm saying it. And that has been something that I've really studied and employed in my life over the years. And whenever I want something, I'll speak it into existence like a lot of people do. I do it in my prayer time in the morning. And literally I see the manifestations. And so that is my story. And as I speak to people and show them how to do that as well, I see the power and the impact in their lives. So I'm really big on the power of words and how we use them for ourselves as well as in the lives of other people.
I like this. I'm going to go and look for that book on the power of words, and I will share it, guys. I'll share it in the notes for you to find all the books that she's mentioned. So Napoleon Hill and this other one.
Florence Scovel Shin.
Okay, I shall look for that, and I'll put that in the notes. And then also you did this on your Instagram where you talked about the 7 affirmations that will accelerate business growth. So what are these 7 affirmations and why?
To read them. Huh? I put them on Instagram. So can I grab them off of Instagram?
Of course.
Yes. So over the years, I've written affirmations. I actually have over 70 that I've written for myself, but I just put the 7 so that, people who are interested could, let me scroll down my Instagram, the power of words, 7 affirmations. Okay. So here's the 7. I add value to the world in diligent service to mankind. Opportunities and rewards flow to me easily as I willingly give and receive nothing but the best. I am an influencer and a difference maker, and I pursue excellence in all my endeavors. I am inspired by need, not greed. I seek to give before I receive. I attract good people, good things, and great experiences. I am a wealth magnet. I am a product of divine choice and divine design. My presence on earth is not by chance. I'm here to change the world. Greater is the power in me than the power in any obstacle before me. I always win.
Oh, these are good. So, guys, I will put the 7 affirmations in the show notes so that you can have access to them. If you want them, if you go onto Noreen's social media, it's on there on her Instagram. Yeah, these 7 affirmations just sit nicely. They do, don't they?
Thank you. And there's a book. I wrote a book. I took it offline, but I need to restore it because people have requested for it. So I'm working on that.
Okay. All right. So, yes. So let me, actually, no, we've come to this point of the show where it's called our So Loud moment, where we celebrate either a person, a thing, something that you want to celebrate right now for the week, the month. We're a brand new month. So the month that's gone before. What is your So Loud moment?
Wow. Does it have to be so loud? Somebody who's done something in my life, or
it can be a person, it can be your business, it can be even yourself, it can be something that you've done, something somebody else has done. You can choose who you wish to celebrate.
Okay. Wow. There's so many people I would celebrate right now. I think right now I would celebrate my mom, because my mom taught me so much without telling me those. I mean, let me say, she taught me a lot just by me observing her live her life. She didn't have the easiest of lives. My parents split up when I was 13, and I saw her rebuild her life from nothing to who she became. She looked after her children and gave over and above even what we knew that, we could see that she had. Her entrepreneurial spirit lives in me. The fighter in me is everything that she is. I could never be half of the woman that she is, but she's taught me so, so much. I appreciate her for giving me life, for always being there, even, when things were really dark and really bad. And so I have a lot to be grateful for. I could celebrate so many people, but for today, I celebrate my mother. Her name is Margaret Osewe.
That is absolutely beautiful. To Margaret Osewe, we celebrate you today. So thank you for being the woman that you were and are. So that is just beautiful. And I think that is a brilliant place to come to wrap the show up. I think the only question I ask is, how can people contact you?
They can find me on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, not Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, Noreen Makosewe. And my website is radicalleap.com. And the second website is Dream Accelerator Academy, but that's just a resource hub for businesses that are bootstrapping their way in business. So I'd love to connect, so please do reach out.
Awesome. Guys, you know what to do. If you've enjoyed the show, give us a shout out, give us a like, hit us on the socials. But most importantly, go and connect in with Noreen. Find out what she does a bit more, a little deeper. Find out how she can help you build strategic connections. Find out how she can help you expand, grow, and expand your business. The time of just us being tiny fish in a big pond is over. We need to grow and we need to expand what we do, because it's not just us anymore. It's how can we make what we do impact generations. So Noreen, thank you for being on the show.
Lillian, thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure having a chat with you, and I look forward to it more.
Yes. All right, guys, that's it. It's a wrap. You will see and hear from us very soon. Bye.
You've been listening to the Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter @Shine Out Show.